Did you know that there's such a developing country that the average age is only 17? Get ready to witness misery, backwardness, and starvation because today you'll find out the poorest countries in the world. Number 5. South Sudan. It was recently independent in 2011. This is the newest country in the world and also one of the poorest. The GDP per capita for it is only $1,234. Misery feels at home here. There's almost no electricity, and those who have a cell phone must charge it in the market. Shoes are a rare commodity, so most people go barefoot. 90% of the population lives on less than $1 a day, and, according to the United Nations, 8 out of 10 million residents need humanitarian aid. Although there are cities, it's normal to live in small villages made up of several cabins. Due to the long and bloody Revolutionary War and also the Civil War that started 2 years later, there are many more women than men. So polygamy became widespread, and now a man can have up to 4 or 5 wives. In terms of health, 13 out of 100 children die before turning 5, and maternal mortality is also high. Under these circumstances, it's not surprising that only 26% of South Sudanese can write and read. Number 4. The Democratic Republic of the Congo. The GDP per capita for this country is $1,141. The cell phone you're watching this video on is likely to have a little bit of soil from this country inside, due to the fact that the Democratic Republic of the Congo is a major exporter of coltan, which is a rock that contains a high concentration of tantalum, the mineral used to produce cell phones. However, the riches only benefit the armed groups, resulting in a total mess. 80% of its population lives in extreme poverty. Life expectancy is only 62 years, and wars have left 4 million orphan children. According to UNICEF, 43% of children experience delayed growth. Regarding sanitary matters, the situation is also awful. Less than a quarter of the country has access to drinking water. As if this wasn't enough, this country is the scene of one of the most medieval events that continue to occur up to now, the witch hunt. That's right, in September 2021 alone, 8 women accused of witchcraft were burned alive. Number 3. The Central African Republic. As its name suggests, the Central African Republic is a country located exactly in the middle of Africa, and the GDP per capita for this country is $987 a year. 67% of the residents live in extreme poverty, and about 2.3 million people, that is, more than half of the country, need humanitarian aid. 40% of the country suffers from chronic malnutrition, and there are only 3 doctors for every 100,000 residents. The literacy rate is very low since people who can read barely reach 37%, and life expectancy is only 53 years. Infrastructure is very scarce, and in its capital, Bangui, there are neighborhoods where drinking water hasn't come out of the faucets for more than 5 years. Number 2. Somalia. Civil war devastated this country and got it divided into several unrecognized states that run against one another. The GDP per capita here is only $986. 75% of the country is below the poverty line, and 43% of the population lives on less than $1 a day. Agriculture is one of the sectors that support the economy, and it went into crisis in 2017 due to a drought that caused a food crisis, specifically famine, for 6 million people. Only 45% of the country has access to piped water sources, and the rest are exposed to get sick with, for example, cholera from drinking contaminated water. In 2015, 1 out of 7 children died before turning 5, mainly from starvation and untreated diseases due to the lack of medical care. Life expectancy is only 56 years, and, just like in Liberia, female genital mutilation is also widespread. Indeed, 97% of Somali women experienced this practice in 2005. But thanks to the authorities' involvement, it has been reduced. And now it's time to find out the poorest country of all. The residents are, on average, 17 years old. Number 1. Burundi. It's located in the heart of sub-Saharan Africa. The GDP per capita for this country is only $770. It has no access to the sea, and its economy relies on agriculture. which represents half of the GDP and gives work to 90% of the population. Indeed, almost 1 out of 10 Burundians live in the countryside. As it's also a mountainous country, residents are quite exposed to natural disasters like floods. As I told you before I began, this country is extremely young. The average age is only 17 years old, and about 46% of the population is 14 years old or younger. On the other hand, more than half of the children suffer from chronic malnutrition. Burundi is so poor that foreign aid accounts for 42% of total income, and it was described as one of the least happy countries in the world in 2018. However, political riots in 2015 caused international donors to stop giving. So the national budget was cut by 50%, and this was an absolute catastrophe. Fortunately, once the situation stabilized, the contributions returned. Otherwise, many more people would be going hungry in this country of children.